start with Ann for a roll call.
Ann Pierce.
Eliza Drollet.
Pam McLeod.
Lila Atkins. Heidi Duper.
Tim Broderick.
Eunice Landry.
Karen Curry-Tonoff.
Jay Fitzpatrick.
Carla.
Randy Pelletier.
Thank you. I now need a motion to go into non-public session to discuss negotiations for the PMTA.
I move we go into non-public under RSA 91-A:2 IB.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll now go to reports. We have a letter from the superintendent to the staff, which has to do with the payment that we were able to give them shortly after Christmas for last year's service. Anything you want to add, sir?
No?
Was it well received, I'm sure?
I
think so.
I should extend a gratitude. A couple of the cafeteria ladies have mentioned a great thank you to them.
I've had a handful of emails from teachers, all expressing, and I replied and said, thank the board.
That's nice. Nice one.
Okay, next we have the Finance Committee report, and in your packet is the expenditure report.
My mouth is full, sorry. The Finance Committee met this evening, and also prior to that, Eunice and I and the administration met with the JMA Budget Committee once again. They had their public hearing on the budget. We did not have any public attend. And when we get to the action item, we'll describe just one small change that the JMA Budget Committee recommends and the Finance Committee will also recommend. Other than that, the meeting went well. The JMA Budget Committee is very supportive. And we talked about the warrant articles, which are also on the agenda for action items. So that's all I have.
Good, thank you. All right, now we have Jay.
Hello, everyone. I did speak with Grace yesterday, the student representative. Told her that she didn't need to come to tonight's meeting. There just isn't enough happening around school since our last meeting.
I thought maybe you were just afraid that she was gonna steal all your items
Yeah,
again.
that's the second part of it. I wasn't going to mention that part. But her and I discussed things yesterday and came to that conclusion that she was actually able to be on the mountain today as well, if I understand correctly. She's part of the ski team. So just a few things that are going on. Boys basketball was shut down over break because it was identified as a cluster for COVID. So there's no basketball news to really report. The girls team, which usually plays in a holiday tournament at Guilford, that tournament was canceled due to an outbreak. Not our team, but we didn't play in that tournament over break. Our strategy is really to try to minimize our exposure in unnecessary ways so that we can continue to play for as long as we can. Everybody is really nervous about losing out on the end of the season when it really matters to be able to play in the tournament. And so I think some of the athletes are doing a little bit better than the average students to try to make sure that they're not incidentally exposing themselves to COVID situations. So fingers crossed. Like I mentioned, ski team has begun practicing, and as I mentioned previously, we do not have an indoor track team or spirit team this year. Indoor track was canceled by the NHIAA, and spirit team, we don't have the rosters, not a lot of demand for it, nor do we have coaches. Robotics, actually this week is the beginning of their actual season. They will have their first it's the initial meeting where they learn everything, will be a virtual thing. And as they're planning they'll learn about what the rest of the season's going to look like. I think everybody has the best intentions at this point, everybody being the entire organization worldwide, but everybody's going to be at the mercy of what's allowed to happen. And we're part of that group as well. We have been working on the program of studies. We have been in communication with Barnstead Elementary. This year, the plan is to bring 8th graders up here to give them a tour of the building during the daytime. We'll speak to them. Usually Justin, the counseling director, and I go to the respective schools, and we speak to students there in a small classroom, all stuffed in the same room. We can do that in the auditorium here, separate kids, and still convey the same type of information, allowing them to sit in our auditorium. We've yet to connect with Alton, but we will be doing that as well, and we're looking probably about the second week of February to make that happen. So an exciting time for some of the 8th graders. We have the end of the semester coming up, January 26th. The 25th and 26th they both are early release days, but that will end first semester. It will end term 2. Most of the kids, the overwhelming majority of students, will start new classes for the second half of the year. And aside from that, unless anyone has any specific questions, that's all I have to report.
I do want to mention that I may have found somebody who could run a school play.
You should have that somebody contact me.
Okay.
At the request of the board last time, I did ask Sharon to post that in newspapers. I don't use Facebook very much anymore for reasons, but I did post that, and I did notice it was shared with the community for a little bit. We've posted it internally, we've posted it externally. I haven't gotten anyone who is interested, so
I
have them
will, yeah,
contact
so
me.
she's a longtime director at Pittsfield Players, and is also connected with Village Players, so she's working on recruiting a team, actually.
Great.
So I will give her your contact information.
Great.
If it's all right, I would just add to that, both of you, Jay and Karen, if we found someone, if numbers justified doing a grades 7 through 12 production, I'm sure we could figure out the transportation, because we can't find anybody at any school
Right.
to do a play right
And
now.
I told them we needed it for both schools.
That's a great idea.
Eliza, challenge accepted, we could do a play.
I'd like to request a seat change, please. Get it?
I love your face when you said that.
I am maxed out.
I have a question about skiing. So we don't offer the ski program for the high school kids other than the ski club? Because my high school had to go to New Durham to get a ski pass for the year. They couldn't do it through here.
You mean the
High
ski
school?
team?
No, the
Pass.
discounted ski passes, yeah, through the ski club.
Yeah. So do they get it through the ski club, but not if they're not in the ski club? That's what I don't understand. Can they
So,
get it?
no,
Prospect doesn't offer anything for the kids.
even if they're on ski team, it's really not a bargain.
No.
Not
So,
really. You're much better off buying it at the beginning in April
Well,
or
New
whatever,
Durham
May.
had the same
than you
rate
are
as
through a ski
elementary
team.
kids were paying. So we were able to get Lizzie one through New
Barnes?
Durham.
So, yeah, so Barnstead Elementary, like New Durham, allows high school students who are residents of Barnstead, like New Durham,
Oh,
to
okay.
buy the discounted club ticket through them. The ski club folks at Alton Central School have been told by the ski area, we don't do that, you can't do it.
That's
So
good.
I spent a half a day on this, I'm sorry, earlier this year.
And it's the same ski.
And I,
rate, right?
and I called the mountain and they told me, no, you can't do that.
And yet Barnstead doesn't.
Barnstead does it, New Durham does it, everyone seems to do it. Maybe it's something they used to do and they're grandfathering people, but they're not letting new,
So it's the
Couldn't tell you.
elementary, not the high school then?
it's the elementary.
I'd like to see, whether it be in Alton or at Prospect Mountain High School, I'd like to see that offered for our high school students.
I agree.
It's a difference of what, $600 and some dollars
It's $6.99 if you go on the
$300. Yeah, it's a huge savings for families, and we're really, you know, that's the time when kids can learn how to ski, and it's an equity issue. The kids who can't afford it are being left out of a great activity.
Makes too much money.
We make too much money. I say, well, it was $6.99 on the
We'll
website,
figure it
because I
out.
looked for it, and it was $3.49 to New Durham. So we were able to get, Libby went through New Durham, just thanks to Pam who posted it.
Right.
The last day, I didn't get many people.
What does it cost in Barnstead, do we know?
It's the same pricing as
Same
the
thing.
New
I
Durham
think it's
program.
I mean, I feel like it's expensive, but I have 3 kids that do it.
But it's, and that's the same price. if you
Everything's
buy
expensive
it
for you.
in- Yeah, it's the same price if you buy it in, you know, April or May. It's,
Yeah,
it's three,
$2.99 or $3.49 when you wait till the very last minute, like I did.
but,
But it's not $6.99.
Yeah,
No,
$6.99
exactly.
now.
So I kind of think we should bring it up again in maybe May, June, and really try to find a way to make it happen
I
next year
agree.
for all of our students in all of our communities. I don't think it will take away from the ski team.
no, Dunstop is so cohesive right now.
Just ask their committee.
Yeah.
Okay, moving
All
right
right,
along.
that's enough.
Right, you're up next.
Yeah. So most of my report has been in the form of budgets and bargaining agreements recently. But there are some things that I think it's really important that I get to you on. So for February at least, and if off the top of my head you have questions, I can certainly talk about some of these things. I will give you the latest update on conversations with Milton. I've been in touch with their school board members on your behalf. They had a public meeting a couple of weeks ago, which I watched. They did not make any decisions to put anything on their warrant or even to continue meeting with you, but they're still talking about it. So whatever that means, it's an open topic. Nothing was there to suggest to me that they either are or are not particularly interested in continuing to pursue a tuition agreement for the high school. Some of my conversations with their members who are representing them in this process have been very encouraging, but we'll see. There are a few things, and this is what I would have loved to have for you tonight, but again, it's gonna wait till February in a more formal way. There are some things we've been talking about both in these meetings and some of us offline now for as long as I've been here that, frankly, because of the pandemic, we've set aside. And I've made reference to this in other joint board meetings, but you know what? It's time to start working on some of these things again because nothing gets done if you don't work on it. And we've talked about nature-based programs, about a dedicated high needs program. You know, we have more than a dozen kids in a life skills program here. It's possible that we could do more, even in a different setting than this building. It's possible that something like that could attract students from other school districts, which would mean revenue as well as a more robust program. That's something we need to start talking about more seriously, and that doesn't mean you need to do anything, but it means I need to do some things and bring them to you. I'm having a conversation this Friday with some folks at the Department of Education about how New Hampshire statute governs open enrollment schools, innovation schools, and in-district charter schools. And I want you to know that I'm having that conversation. And the reason is, we've been talking to other communities in the area about the possibility of tuition agreements in order to increase the number of students attending Prospect Mountain High School. Part of that conversation is about more students in the building to create a more robust experience here. Part of it is about the revenue in order to be able to continue to offer everything we offer here. It might be possible to have the revenue in certain ways by having students tuition into some other kinds of programs. That doesn't mean a tuition agreement with another town sending kids to this high school. So that's why I'm exploring these. While I understand you have a process ongoing with Milton, which is wonderful, and we'll see what happens there, and we still have open lines of communication with some other towns who might become interested, but so far those things aren't going anywhere. I'm kind of working on the next ideas, and I'll bring you more about that. And then the last thing is, let's not forget Prospect Mountain High School, which once upon a time, before we'd ever heard of COVID-19, we were talking about things like pathway-oriented diplomas and looking at the curriculum. And now that Jay has a new schedule coming into effect, they've already started. I actually bumped into some folks today, both from the PMTA and from Jay's administration, starting to work on drafts of a school calendar and how the Tuesday and Thursday components of the new proposed schedule will fit into the calendar next year. You'll see calendars in February. We're on schedule for that. The state recommended school calendar just came out. It comes out in January every year. We just got it this week. So these are things you'll see from me next month. I'm certainly open to conversations on all of these topics. Some of them are fun to talk about when we can find time. And a lot of these things do revolve around one of the two strategic objectives you described to me when you interviewed me, right? Going back more than 3 years ago now, which was this enrollment situation, right? You wanted to consider, could you more efficiently organize your central offices among the 3 SAUs, and did this apparent decline in enrollment really exist? And if it does, what could be done about it? And here we are. So those things are important. I think it's important not to be so distracted by the pandemic that we don't continue to do these things, because these are the things that will still be important 5 years from now. I hope we're not talking about the coronavirus 5 years from now.
Thank you. So, do we need a committee update from the enrollment options?
Yeah, they're still talking about it. They don't know.
Okay, I know you touched on it a little bit, so. All right. So we move on to our action items. So I've gone through in non-public all the tentative agreement items in the proposed contract and recommended a change to the section 10.9.4. And I've given you the cost items, so I would take a motion to, from someone to ratify the contract.
I make a motion to ratify the PMTA collective bargaining contract as presented with one amendment under 10.9.4.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your hard work.
Yes.
The whole
Thank
group of you.
Thank you for the committee. Did a great job. Okay, and now we'll go back to Karen for a minute. We have the budget in front of you.
I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion, then we can discuss. I'm gonna make a motion that based on discussions with the joint budget committee, that the board approve a budget for the year 22 to 23 of $8,610,025.42.
Second.
Any discussion? That includes the,
So I'll just point out the only difference compared to the number you saw before is $5,000. So in discussions with the committee, we came up with a change to spending on software, which in a nutshell is that we're, for some duplicate intended software, we're going to grant fund one that we're eliminating but need to wean off of first. So it was enabled us to save $5,000 on the budget.
any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. And we have, maybe 3 warrant articles?
You want motions to talk about it?
Hmm?
You want need a motion to talk about it? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Make a motion to accept the FY 22-23 warrant articles as presented.
Second.
All right, you've ratified the tentative agreement that we presented tonight. So the first one is for that collective bargaining agreement, and it's showing the cost over the next 4 years. And you'll see an article that would be for Alton and an article for Barnstead. So you've already ratified that contract, so that's a recommendation of that article. The next one is for the athletic fields. We've been doing that on a repetitive basis, same amount, so that's a capital improvement, so that's an even split, 15,000 for each town. And then the last one is for the Technology Expendable Trust Fund. That's something that we created last year and continue to fund it, and those are for unanticipated technology issues. So I believe I have a recommendation on that article also. All right, thank you. So we don't have a personnel report tonight. So the next item is.
Do you need to vote on this?
I'm sorry. You made a motion, didn't you?
Yeah, do you need to vote though? Right, you don't have to vote, I mean, I'm just asking.
Well, I thought your motion was to approve them, so.
No, people, that's why people want to discuss, I said.
All right, then I'll take a motion on each one to recommend it. So if you want to go ahead.
I make a motion to accept all the warrant articles as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, no personnel report tonight, so, and Jay, you gave us a letter from the senior class, and it has to do with a trip they'd like to take.
Senior class trip, I believe May 15, 16, and 17. They'd like to go to the Great Wolf Lodge, which is an indoor water park / hotel in Fitchburg, Massachusetts.
So moved. Need chaperone?
You're gonna be directing the play that night.
I am.
With no seniors.
There's nothing in here, this is just a request to have the overnight class
Correct.
trip, but there's nothing in here about chaperones or.
Nope, nothing involving itinerary. They didn't want to move forward unless they got the approval to be out of state.
All right. So I will take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? We'll need that additional information at some point, so. All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Hope they can have it.
Is it a nice place?
It's fun.
It's
Oh,
fun,
kids
yeah.
love it.
Everybody's been there but me.
They will get to enjoy a lot of
I've
it.
never been there, but I've seen pictures, it looks nice, yeah.
My grandchildren love it.
All right, moving right along, I'm gonna open up the second public input. And
Just so everybody knows, I was late because I attended the Barnstead Elementary School, our middle school basketball games. Our B team lost to Guilford, but our A team won.
I'm not sure that's on the list of approved lateness.
Don't have to show up at all.
I mean, that would be my plan.
All right, so I'm gonna close public input, and I assume you wanted do you want a non-meeting, or do you want a non?
You can have a non-meeting tonight, so you can adjourn when you've concluded all your business and you're done for the night.
All right, I know we have some items that we're gonna follow up for the next meeting, which the superintendent gave us already. All right, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned. We are now in a not,
Before we go into the non-meeting, we recessed the Alton meeting so we could take a vote on the Prospect Mountain budget